Hi there, how's it going? I'm Gabriel Morris. I'm 42 years old. I'm from Northern California originally. I've been traveling around the world off and on for 25 years now. I've been to 24 countries so far, but have a lot still to see, so feel free to subscribe to my channel here to follow my upcoming adventures. In this video then I'm going to discuss how to avoid disaster while traveling. Now in the first part of this video then I'm going to give a few very useful practical suggestions, and then in the second part I'm going to pull some stuff out of my handy bag here and show you some good things to consider bringing along on your travels to help in the context of avoiding disaster while traveling. Alright, so the first suggestion is regarding money, which is of course a very important issue. So there are a few different ways to go about having your money available to you one way or another in the course of your travels. What I recommend is basically leaving most of your money in the bank, and then it can't get stolen, at least not, from a pickpocket or whatever. And then have a mix of currency on you in different forms. So have a few traveler's checks, perhaps, just to have another form of currency on you, just in case. And then you definitely want to have some hard currency, some cash, in some form, in addition to the currency of whatever country you're traveling in. Say you're traveling in Thailand, for example, then obviously you're going to need a Thai baht to travel there. But it is highly recommended throughout the course of your travels to always have something on you in US dollars, British pounds, the euro, Canadian dollar, Aussie dollar, etc. But basically US dollar, British pound, euro are the three big ones. Just so that you have something on you in case you can't access your money in your bank account, stuff gets stolen, whatever, so that you have some cash on you to meet your needs for a few days or whatever. Also, it is important for certain things such as getting visas on the border. If you're going to Nepal, for example, then you can buy a visa right there at the airport, but you have to pay for it in one of the major currencies. Now, along these lines, then it is very important to make sure you have more than just one ATM card with you. You don't just want the one ATM card that you're planning to use, and then what happens if the machine that you put it into doesn't give it back to you, or you lose it, or it expires and you didn't realize it, or it gets stolen, or it gets chewed on by a dog, or whatever. So I generally have three cards with me, two for one bank and then one for another bank, and then put them in different places so that if your wallet gets stolen or your day pack gets stolen, then you don't lose everything important in that regard all at once. And then I will mention just one other thing along these lines, which is that I've heard that there is a way to get a bank card that doesn't charge you a foreign withdrawal fee. So if you're in Thailand, you go to an ATM there, you withdraw money, and then it gives you the currency in Thai baht. Whenever you're in a foreign country and you use their ATM machine, it always converts from your bank into the local currency, so you're going to get Thai baht out of that machine. But your bank will almost certainly charge you a foreign cash withdrawal. So the ATM that you use will charge you something, and also your bank will charge you something for withdrawing from outside of your country. So I'm not sure about that, how to get one of those cards. If anyone has any information, feel free to post in the comments below this video, and feel free to look around for your own on that and find out if it's possible to get a card like that from your bank, because that will save you money every time you withdraw your cash. Alright, now tip number 2 is a very simple, basic one, but is something that people can forget, which is that before you leave somewhere, look behind you. I don't know how many times I've gotten out of a taxi, gotten off a plane, gotten off a bus, left a coffee shop or whatever, and where'd my sunglasses go? Where's my hat? Where's my laptop? Fortunately, I haven't actually lost my laptop, but I've lost a fair amount of things along the way. Fortunately, nothing huge, and sometimes I've been able to go back and find it at that place. But that is oftentimes not the case when you're traveling. You get off the plane later that afternoon, or a bus in the middle of India or whatever, and you're not going to see that thing again. So it's just something to put in the back of your mind. Whenever you get up from that table, get off that plane, double check, triple check that you have gotten all of your stuff, so that you don't create a hassle for yourself as a result of a very silly, stupid mistake. So tip number 3 here is to email all of your internet passwords to yourself. So, I have like 30 or whatever different websites that I need to log into, and my computer is programmed so that it has all those passwords in it. And this brings to another point, which is to password protect your computer, so that when you turn your computer on, you have to enter in your password in order to access your computer and in order to get online and everything. Because otherwise, if someone steals or finds your computer, they could have access to your Facebook page, your email account, your bank account, who knows what. So password protect your computer. And then rather than assuming you're not going to lose your computer as far as all of your passwords go, for one thing, I have them written down in a notebook of mine, and then I also email all of those passwords to myself so that I have those online in a format that can't be lost. However, you obviously don't want to reveal all of your passwords to someone, either in that notebook or in an email. And so I've disguised my passwords in how I write them down. So I use the same word for almost all of my various online accounts and everything, but I change it. So sometimes it has a 1, sometimes it's uppercase at the beginning, sometimes there's some other number or an exclamation point or whatever, but throughout most of my accounts, and I tend to use the same word. So in my journal, and when I email myself those passwords, then I put an X, XXXXX, to symbolize that one word, and then the different variations upon it. So even if somebody finds that page with all my passwords, they aren't going to be able to make sense of it without knowing what that one word is. But that way, if you email yourself that list, then even if you lose your backpack, your notebook, whatever, then you aren't scrambling trying to figure out what your passwords are for all of your different accounts online. So my next suggestion is to make photocopies of your passport and various IDs, and then have a few of those photocopies on you in different places. So have one in your day pack that you're going to carry around with you throughout the day when you're in a location, and then also in your larger backpack or piece of luggage or whatever. Just put it in 2 or 3 different places, so that if you should lose your passport and or ID, then you have that information to make it easier to get another one, to go to the embassy, and then you have a photocopy of your passport that you can show them, that will help streamline the process. I also recommend scanning or taking a digital image of that passport and your IDs and email that to you, so that even if you lose everything, then you still have something. And then also, it's good to have it on you if you get asked for your passport while you're out walking around a foreign city or whatever, even if you don't necessarily have your passport on you, because sometimes I will leave my passport in my room if I feel that the room is secure, and then maybe have my ID, my driver's license on me or something. But it's happened a few times that I've gotten stopped and questioned and asked to see my passport, and fortunately I had that photocopy on me. Alright, so now I get to the handy bag section of this video. I'm going to pull a few things out of this bag here and explain why they are important things to bring along in order to avoid disaster while traveling. Alright, so the first thing at the top here is needle and thread. This is upholstery thread. Look for that when you go to a store that has threads in it. The upholstery thread is extremely strong, and this is very, very useful and practical for a whole host of things. A strap on your backpack breaks, your shirt starts unraveling, you can use your imagination, but being able to just pull this out of your backpack when you're sitting on a bus or you're in your hotel room and be able to sew something up is very useful. A universal travel adapter. So when you go to a different country, then they may very well have a different plug that your items, your laptop, your cell phone, your razor, whatever, won't plug into. And so you can get specific plugs for the different countries that you're going to, but you might as well just get one that covers them all. This covers every country in the world's different types of plugs. So rather than getting one for one country and then you go to the country next door and realize they don't use that exact same plug, this way you are definitely covered no matter the circumstances. A flashlight or a headlamp. In various countries around the world, they have very erratic power. You might be sitting there in your hotel room, all is fine, you're working on your computer, suddenly the power goes out and you are plunged into darkness. And without some sort of a light source, then you're going to be in a difficult situation. So for one thing, also make sure to have a lighter or two on you. There might be some candles in the room, you might buy some candles along the way, but if nothing else, just make sure that you have a flashlight on you. A little bag of extra toilet paper. You can imagine the various circumstances that might arise in which that is a very important item that you want to have on you. So, just roll some up, throw it in your day pack just to make sure you don't run into an awkward situation. A pocket knife of some sort, or in this case I have a Leatherman tool that has really saved my butt on a number of occasions. This one has a set of pliers on it that can be useful for all sorts of circumstances. It also has can opener, bottle opener, knife, etc. So that's a good thing to have with you. All right, now this is one of the most important items that a lot of people won't think of. This is a bicycle lock with a cable on it. You don't want to bring a U-lock. That's not going to be very helpful for anything other than locking up a bicycle. So this might come in handy if you rent a bike, but mostly it ends up being used for other things. So if you're staying at a hostel, for example, then some hostels don't have luggage compartments to lock your stuff in. And so then you can at least wind this cable through your backpack, through the straps or whatever, and then lock it to the bunk bed in such a way that if somebody were to try to grab your bag in the middle of the night or during the day while you're gone, it is at least going to be a lot more of a hassle than just grabbing something and running. So that can at least give you some peace of mind. It's less likely that your bag is going to get ripped off. It doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. It is also very handy for sleeping on trains, doing the same thing. If you're on the top bunk of a train, for example, and then you stuff your backpack down below the bottom bunk, way down there, I've heard first-hand stories of people who had their backpacks stolen on trains. Generally, for example, on the trains in India, then there's a little clasp of sort under the bottom bunk there, where you're going to stuff your backpack, a little metal thing attached to the bottom of the bunk that you can put a lock through. So again, you can put the cable through your backpack or your suitcase or whatever, and then lock it securely so that that's not going to disappear on you. And then it can come in handy for a variety of other situations. But that's something that you're not going to use it every day, but in those kinds of circumstances, definitely going to be handy. A couple of other locks, just a typical padlock, but it's India style. And so in a lot of countries around the world, then you might not necessarily have a lock on your room, especially if you're doing it budget style, or it's like a bungalow on the beach or something like that. Then it might just be a latch and you're expected to have your own lock, and that's just fine, because then you know that nobody else has the key for that lock. So bring a lock along, and it can be handy for that as well as various other things. And then also bring a smaller lock. This can be handy for locking a little compartment on the train. I've actually used it for locking my tent when camping, then pull the zipper closed and then lock the zipper in such a way that at least nobody can easily open up my tent that way. Of course, someone could use a knife and slash it or whatever, but if you're in a campground somewhere that it's visible, then that isn't as likely to happen. And so if it isn't as easy for someone to just zip open your tent or something else, I mean, you could use this to actually lock your suitcase or whatever. All right, and then the last little thing here, most people will have thought of this already, but is a USB memory stick for backing up your files on your laptop. And this is something that some people don't think about, and their laptop gets stolen, or it just goes on the fritz, or they drop it or whatever, and then they lose all of their photos, files, etc. This happened to a friend of mine just a couple of weeks ago. She dropped the external hard drive for her computer, and like 15 years of photos gone. So make sure to back up at least your most important stuff, and then again, it's just a small little thing. Throw it in the bag and you're good to go. So the last thing here that I'm going to mention is for those who have a US passport, and I don't know if this applies to other passports, I just know from learning the hard way. I was in Thailand trying to go to Laos, and I get to the border, hand them my passport so that I can get my visa on arrival and enter the country, and the fellow there takes a look at my passport, thumbs through it for quite a while, and then hands it to another guy who then looks at it, who then hands it to another guy who looks at it, who then hands it back to the first guy, who then hands it back to me and says, "No more room, go back to Bangkok." And I'm like, what are you talking about? There's 4 blank pages at the end of my passport. Turns out those 4 blank pages are not for visas. So, I don't know if you can see here, this one says visas at the top, on the left there. Here you might be able to see it says for amendments and endorsements. Visas are not amendments and endorsements. This was never explained to me. It is not obvious. There's no stamp or big red writing that says not valid for visas. In my 10 years of having this passport, I had never even thought about it. But it turns out that those last 4 blank pages cannot be used for visas. So indeed, they turned me around. I had to take a 10-hour bus ride back to Bangkok, go to the US Embassy, get additional pages added into my passport, and then make the 10-hour bus journey back to Laos, and then they let me in. But that was a learning experience. So be aware of how much room you have left in your passport if you're a regular traveler, and double check and make note that those last few pages may not be valid for your visas, and avoid yourself a real hassle. So there you go. I hope those suggestions help, and definitely post below any further comments, suggestions, ideas that you have for others for different ways to avoid disaster while traveling. Many of those things we learn the hard way through experience, so give people some ideas of what to expect, how to avoid these types of circumstances, and make the traveling experience a whole lot smoother. So take care. Again, feel free to subscribe to my channel here to follow my upcoming adventures. Happy trails, safe travels.